Hey everybody, it's Stephanie with the Learning Project. You guys, I have a very special guest with me. So you guys know I'm always out looking for different stories and people to share what they've gone through and their experiences on our Sending Love, Strength and Love segment. I want to definitely welcome a very, very special guest of mine. We are in the same Facebook group, and I have just been listening and watching different people's stories, but this story really stuck out to me. I want to welcome Tyra Morris. Thank you so much for just stopping by and sharing your sacred story of just birth and things that have happened. So thank you so much for coming by.
Hey, how are you? And good evening to everybody. I'm Tyra Morris from Chicago, Illinois. And to start and give a little background about me.
Yes.
I'm a third-time mom. Mm-hmm. I have a daughter, 20 years old, who I had no complications with when I was pregnant with her. Mm-hmm. And that was before and after. Then I have a 5-year-old who I had complications with. They were telling me that with her, I had what was called antibodies, and they had to watch her very closely. And so basically with, I had an epidural with both daughters. Daughter number 2 came out and didn't have to push nothing. We didn't even know she was out. So
wow.
Yeah, she was just out. We were looking for a heartbeat and couldn't find it. Then we discovered that she was already out. So my baby right here, Loyal, he was a surprise baby. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to tell you everything.
Please, so Loyal, that's what we're here for.
Okay, Loyal, what happened with Loyal? Okay, I am married to my friend of 23 years, and me and my husband, we've been together for 10 years, married for 5.
Wow.
So the plan was that the 5-year-old, since that was such a difficult pregnancy, and I had a miscarriage before and after her. Wow. The plan was for her to be that was it. I was not having any more children after her. Mm-hmm. But I ended up just having a morning after pill, and it didn't work with him. And so the deciding factor, I mean, I was so scared that I was possibly going to miscarry with him.
Yeah.
And that I was also afraid that it was going to be another difficult pregnancy, but I was possibly thinking about abortion. Wow. And my husband said, no, I don't stand with you with that. Mm-hmm. And so my deciding factor to just say, skip it, I'm going ahead and I'm going to have the baby. Right. Is I was thinking, number 1, maybe it's going to be a boy. Oh, Jesus. And number 2, I'm sorry, those are the cats. But
okay.
Number 2, we discovered my due date was July 10th. July 10th, that's my cousin's birthday. And the following year, December 10th, 2019, she passed away in a fire.
Wow.
And so due date's her birthday. So throughout the pregnancy, it was all normal. Oh, God. You want to start acting up. Okay, so the pregnancy was normal. I didn't have any high blood pressure or anything throughout the pregnancy. Every doctor's appointment was great. It was great. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that was happening was morning sickness. Like I had it with my daughters, but I had it all 9 months with him, and nothing would hold. I even was hospitalized because I couldn't hold anything down. And so going forward, like I want to say when I made 7 months, they kept talking about induction. And so I was actually about to go through with induction because what had happened was my husband, he had actually taken, it was a situation where, okay, we don't know if we're going to be able to have a babysitter for this. So let's just go ahead and at least when we get my labor induced, we know the day, and therefore we can have my mom to come over and keep our 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay. So the crazy thing, and I'm not going to say this is sort of like a work of God, but it ain't. So my husband, 5 days before I'm scheduled to get my labor induced, he tore the ligament that connects his foot to his ankle. So he ended up being off of work on medical leave anyway. Wow. And so I end up still in all, we're going in July 5th. They say that's the day, that's the big day. We're going in to get induced. So I go in and they say, wow, you're 3 centimeters already. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. And so I ended up, it was like, what, 1:30, 2:00 when I went to the hospital for the induction. And the induction never happened. They just kept me there to monitor me to see, was I dilating anymore? Because I was 3 centimeters. And so he ended up coming. Oh, God. I thought this thing was on Do Not Disturb. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, so anyway, he came at 4:49 the next morning, July 6th, which is also 50 Cent's birthday. So anyway, we went home on a 9th because I ended up getting my tubes tied. So normally the hospital was 2-day stay. And so it was crazy. Like I can't remember exactly what happened and why we ended up like staying that extra day. Why they didn't have my, it was something about my tubal. The anesthesia and the anesthesiologist, I believe that's what they call it, wasn't present at the time. So we had to get in when we fit in. That's the way they got it here.
Yeah.
And so we had they did my tubal ligation on July 8th. And I was released from the hospital on July 9th. I go home, and this is exactly the order in which things went. We come home on July 9th. My mom, she goes home. And I said, for some reason, I begged her. I said, Mom, I want you to stay here with me another day. And she goes, I got to get home, girl. I got to go to work. So I just had to let her go. So my daughter, Ava, the 5-year-old, she has bunk beds in her room. So what we did is we camped out in Ava's room. We have a recliner chair like the chair I'm sitting in right now. We moved that into Ava's room. And since I had that cut on my stomach, the recliner chair for me was better getting in and out of, just getting up and down and having to go to the restroom. I don't think, I was so scared I was going to bust my stitches open trying to get out of bed. So I stayed in I slept in the recliner chair for, let me see, for the time I was out, passing son back and forth. My husband, he's sleeping on the bunk beds with the kids, and I'm in a recliner chair. And so it's, okay, your turn. He give me the baby, and I let him get some sleep. Then it's your turn. I get the baby so he can get sleep. He get the baby so I can get some sleep. And so we did this for a couple of days. And so now it was July the 11th. I said, you know what, tomorrow I think I want to go back to my own room. I think I'll be ready. And so he was like, okay. So the next day I woke up, I said, I want to go to my own room. So he said, okay. So he goes in the room, he starts rearranging it, cleaning up, and he moved the recliner chair into our room. And so I'm sitting there, I go in the recliner chair, I go in there, and all of a sudden I had developed the worst headache ever. And when I say this is the worst headache, I'm like, okay, Lord, like, what have I done to deserve this?
Wow.
And so I wrote it off as being a sleepy headache because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I probably didn't get adequate amount of sleep. We're passing the baby back and forth. Just as well, I want to look out for him and he want to look out for me, But I didn't want it to be a situation where he gets really frustrated with, trying to handle, and it's overwhelming for him. Even though, his sister say he built like that. His father, trained him to be that way, to handle stress. And so, anywho, so I'm like, okay, well, this is all I need to do. I'm going to take some ZQuil, because in the past, when I have had headaches, that's what I did. Take ZQuil, go to sleep, wake up, and I'm a new person. So I forgot to add that upon getting released from the hospital, they prescribed me some Narco for the cut on my stomach, for, the cutting of my tubes. And so my mother, before she left, her and my husband both said, with those narcotics, be very careful. Do not take it on an empty stomach, because if you do, you're going to regret it and you're going to get real sick. And I'm like, okay. So going forward, I'm sitting in there and I have the worst headache. I take the ZQuil and I'm sitting there wondering, why can't I fall asleep? What is going on with me? And so I took some more, like, well, maybe I just didn't take enough ZQuil. Let me take some more. So I took some more ZQuil, Because the only thing on my mind is I'm going to get some sleep. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to help my husband with the baby.
Yeah.
I'll be a new person.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen. So next thing you know, the incision on my stomach began to hurt. And I said, I called my husband. I said, love, could you please bring me my Narcos? He said, okay. So he brought the Narcos. I took it. And it didn't dawn on me until like maybe right away, like about I'll say 30 seconds later, that I did not eat. And I called my husband. I said, love, I forgot to eat before I took the Narco. He said, well, what do you want to eat? You want to eat something really quick? I said, yeah, I got a leftover slice of Gino's East pizza. Now, if you ever been to Chicago, that's our famous deep dish pizza. So I said, bring me that leftover Gino's East pizza from yesterday. So he brought it in the room. I ate it. And 20 minutes later, I vomited everywhere. And I said, love, you got to call the ambulance. The headache is getting worse. And now I took this narcotic and I didn't eat anything. So y'all said I'm probably going to get sick from that. And so next thing you know, I'm sitting there and he called the ambulance and he told me, he said, baby, stand up so I can take this gown off of you so that you, when they come, I can change your clothes and you'll have something clean to wear. And I said, baby, I can't stand up. I cannot stand up. And so it was like nothing. I mean, I had full usage of my limbs, but it's just that my head was hurting so bad. The only thing I really wanted him to do was cut the light off and, we wait for the ambulance to get there because the light was really bothering my head. Yeah. So he calls the ambulance. The ambulance come and they were so rude to me. Like, when I tell you that was the worst encounter, and my father and grandfather are retired Chicago firefighters. Wow. And the firefighters, well, my grandfather, he's deceased. But anyway, what usually happens is the fire department comes along with the ambulance, just in case they have to lift someone. But in this instance, that wasn't the case. The ambulance just came. And so they were, ma'am, you have to get up. You have to stand up. And I'm steady saying, I cannot get up. It's hard. And so, like I said, it's not, I mean, I had full uses of all of my limbs. It's just that my headache was so bad that I just wanted to really like bury myself. And so they were saying like, I mean, so my husband started saying, well, she took this right here and she took this. And they said, oh, we're going to call it in as a drug overdose. What? And yes, that is what Chicago EMT said. And I really wish there was a way that I could sue them for that. But I don't like when I contacted the lawyer said that, basically, I'm guessing it'll be my word against theirs. I don't know. I can't remember because, I just don't remember. But the lady wrote, she kept saying, get up. You have to stand up. I mean, because you fall and my partner hurt himself. Me and my partner can't afford to fall and hurt ourselves. And I'm just steady saying I cannot get up. So now they go, oh, well, it was the lady who was doing most of the talking. She said, okay, well, we're going to take her to St. Bernard Hospital, call it in as a drug overdose based on the medicine that I had took. That they call it a drug overdose. Some ZQL and narcotic. And so I said, like, wow, what did I do for them to call it in as an OD? Is they act like I took a whole bunch of the narcotics. Right. And I took a whole bottle of ZQL. I took a swig of ZQL and maybe a cup of ZQL and one narco. And so all I remember is, okay, so let me give you a little history. St. Bernard Hospital, that is one of the worst hospitals in Chicago. It's actually a community hospital. Wow. So they like that. It's a community hospital located in the Inglewood neighborhood. And so everybody knows, don't go to St. Bernard. There's certain hospitals you don't go to in Chicago because they're death traps. St. Bernard is one of them. So that was the closest hospital that they could take me to. And so, but as a matter of fact, just like when I told you, my husband tore the ligament that connects his foot to his ankle. When I called the ambulance when that happened, that was 5 a.m. And they said, we're going to take him to St. Bernard. I said, no, y'all not. I just put him in the car the best way I can. I'm 9 months pregnant. I said, I'll put him in the car the best way I can, and I'm taking him to another hospital.
Yeah.
So anywho, they took me, and I don't remember anything about anything. Like, I don't remember much of nothing. But my mother told me that I told her that the ambulance called me a junkie, and they said you knew what you were doing. I don't remember anything because I don't remember much about, you know, I don't remember the transfer or any of that. I just remember when I woke up, I was down in Northwestern Hospital. Northwestern Hospital, so Princess, that is the women's part. That's the women's hospital in Chicago, downtown Chicago, Northwestern. That's part of Northwestern. Northwestern is the #1 hospital in Chicago. That's actually where Bernie Mac passed away. And a lot of people, like the celebrities, that's where they end up at when they go to the hospital. So I ended up, when I woke up, I was in a neuro ICU at Northwestern. And I believe, so the stroke happened July 12th. I want to say I woke up July 14th. I don't remember. And the only thing that I know is that, I'm going to get to that later. So I woke up, I was in a neuro ICU, and they kept asking me to move my hands, wiggle my toes, and I couldn't do it. And they told me that I had slight hemorrhaging on the right side of my brain. So therefore, the left side of my body was paralyzed. That's temporary paralysis. That's what they called it. And so I stayed in neuro ICU for 2 weeks.
What?
Yes, and they actually told my husband, your wife is probably going to be here for 3 weeks and she's probably going to need a feeding tube. And I got out of ICU in 2 weeks. I want to say within a week of being in there, I was able to eat on my own and swallow on my own. And so after I went to, after the 2 weeks was up, I went to Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, which is like right around the corner from Northwestern Hospital. That's the #1 rehabilitation center in the world.
Wow.
And yes, it's not just #1 in Chicago or the state of Illinois. It's #1 in the world. There was actually a man here from Switzerland to get rehab there. Another man, he was here from Alabama, when he said he could have drove 4 hours to the #8 rehabilitation center, which is located in Atlanta, but he chose to come here to Shirley Ryan. So I went to Shirley Ryan, and I just remember I called my friend. It was July 24th. I'm in Shirley Ryan. No, July 25th. I woke up. I called my friend at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she said, "How did you know I was woke?" I said, "I didn't know. I just wanted to call you." And she said, "Well, you know, you talked to me while you were in ICU." I said, "I did." And so she said, "Yeah, you talked to me and you told me you was okay. You took a picture and sent it to yourself." I said, "I don't remember doing any of that." And so then she said, so I went and looked at my messages, and I did take a picture. How I did it, I don't know. And so she said that's all she needed to know, was that I was okay. And so within 4 days, and I documented my whole journey on Facebook Live. Within 4 days of being at Shirley Ryan, I was able to move my right hand and and then like sometime later, I was able to wiggle my toes on my left side and lift my foot up. And so I what am I trying to say? Okay, so I was able to wiggle my move around a little bit from being at Shirley Ryan. And there were tons of people on Facebook. "Oh, we talked to Tyra. She said she's okay." And I'm like, I talked to these people. Like, I forgot. Like, I must have not. But you know what? A result of a stroke is short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
So you may hear me repeat the same thing over and over again. I want to tell you that. And
you're doing excellent. I just got to take a moment here, because I know all of my listeners are like, what in the heck happened? So what is this that happened to you? What is the term called?
Postpartum preeclampsia. Now, let me tell you what happened. So postpartum preeclampsia, all through pregnancy, they talk about preeclampsia. Yes. Let's watch out for preeclampsia. Blood pressure. That's high blood pressure during pregnancy. But I've never heard the term postpartum preeclampsia. No. Now, this is the crazy part. I told my husband, I say they need to educate more women of color on that.
Yes.
So when he was going through all my paperwork, cleaning up, this is when I got home from Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Center. I stayed there for an entire month. I went in July 24th and I got out August 26th. Wow. And so when I left, I walked out of there. You know, they rolled me in, I walked out.
Wow.
And I didn't need a wheel. They sent me home with a wheelchair. They sent me home with a cane. I used the cane because to walk short distances, you know, I mean, the cane mainly was to help me stand up. That's it. Help me when I'm sitting in the seat and I need help standing up. And then I also used it to help getting in and out of the tub because my husband, my sister-in-law, she bought me a tub that I could, one of them benches. I didn't even have to use. I used that one time and that was it. And so now what happened? My husband, when he started like cleaning up and clearing things out, he said, "Oh, here's something about they sent you home with a postpartum preeclampsia right here." I said, "Well, surely they don't expect me to actually go through read their whole pile of papers, and I'm home with a newborn baby and an incision on my stomach."
Okay, that part what she just said, y'all. Keep going, Tyra. This is some good stuff. I hope y'all get something from this.
Now, my thing is just like y'all, let's check. You want to make sure you don't have preeclampsia. Let's check it for your blood sugar. And y'all explain that. I mean, they explain what it is, how blood pressure is to us, which is hypertension. And they explain preeclampsia to us. So tell us what to look for when we go home, which is postpartum preeclampsia. Now, it's rare. Postpartum preeclampsia is rare. And what usually happens is within, I would say, 3 to 8 days of you being home after having a baby, there's a spike in your blood pressure. Now, of course, you're not thinking, oh, let me go buy a blood pressure cuff so I can constantly check my blood pressure. You're not thinking about that because they don't they don't tell you, they don't go over that with you when you're leaving the hospital.
No.
So how do we, I'm supposed to know that I have to look for blood pressure if y'all don't tell me? And the doctors, what I think is the midwives, and I'm not going to solely fault them because I think I had an excellent midwife, but what they should have said, I mean, this is something they should tell you. Oh, get a blood pressure cuff so when you're home, you check your blood pressure. If you see a spike in your blood pressure, then you come to the emergency room immediately.
Yep.
You don't just send me out there high and dry and I don't know what's going on.
No. And I just want everybody to listen to this. So this is not like this is your first baby or your second baby. This is your third baby. You know what it's supposed to kind of feel like. You kind of know the journey, right? And this is exactly what I'm talking about, y'all. There are so many times where people are going home. They are in situations they don't even know that they're in. And I share this with my story all the time where I had a headache and after having my baby, and I thought it was because I wasn't getting enough sleep. And luckily for me, the difference was for me, I had a doula. And my doula, I just happened to mention that I had a headache. She was like, "You need to go to the hospital right away." And I was like, "For what? I have a headache. What are they going to do?" You know? And she was like, "No, you need to go. You cannot have a headache after you had a baby for this long." And I said to myself, you know what? If she would have never told me, I would have continued to take, I was taking Tylenol. I would have continued to take my Tylenol because I would have just thought that I was having some sleep deprivation issues. And when I got there, they were like, "Listen, if you would have continued to let this go on, this would have been really bad. Your blood pressure's up. All this stuff is going on. You cannot do that." And I'm like, I didn't know. And so many women, exactly what you said, you were sent home with a pile of papers. You barely can know what's going on. Anybody who's had a baby, sometimes your brain, your hormones, they are all over the place. And some women, they don't have this, but I had definitely had it. I couldn't remember my baby's name. I didn't know what was going on. I ended up having a C-section after 30 hours of labor. This is my first child, so I'm not sure what to think, what to say, what to feel, what's normal, what's not. You're trying to get yourself together. And if I wouldn't have had my doula to tell me, "Hey, you need to go and figure this out at the hospital," I would have never went. And so when I saw your story, Tyra, I was like, I cannot believe that we're still in this position where women are at home for 6 weeks before they even see a medical professional, and they are not getting help, you know, and that is a hard thing. And luckily you had your husband that was like, hey, something is not right, and we need to take you to the hospital. We need to call an ambulance. How many people are going home and have no support at all? It's scary.
And then the crazy, he couldn't even go with me to the hospital because number one, we got a newborn baby here, and number two, like I say, he tore the ligament that connects his foot to his ankle, so he's hopping around on one foot, and then we got a 5-year-old. So I was literally like, him and my mother were on the phone, and my mother was telling him, told him the necessary steps to get me transferred to Northwestern Hospital.
Wow.
So she told him, and then somehow they got, all I know is I remember getting wheeled out of the house. That was my last memory. I'm getting wheeled out the house, and they said, let's take her to St. Bernard, call it in as a drug overdose. And so I was pissed off. And the reason why I was pissed off is because had it been a white woman, let's say in Lincoln Park somewhere, they never would have treated her like that. Yeah. And that's number one. Number two, call it in as a drug overdose. Do you guys not know how damaging that can be to my reputation as a worker of the city of Chicago? That could have really hurt me.
Yes.
And so that's let's say it had not been discovered as a stroke, but like I said, I just don't even know what steps to take, but I wanted to file something against them for that. But I want to say I've been in Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Center, Ability Lab. That's what they call it, Ability Lab. It used to be called Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, but they changed that because basically, to give it a more positive vibe, Ability Lab. Yes. So, like I say, that's the number one Ability Lab, and after being there for 2 weeks, I was walking on my own.
Wow.
And, I was begging them, like, can y'all just let me go to the bathroom? And so it became after a while, after being there, let's say they were really busy with other patients, I wasn't going to wait for them. I was getting up, going to the bathroom by myself.
Right.
And so now I'm still getting rehabilitation services. And my last day of, they got outpatient now. I'm not an inpatient, I'm outpatient. And today, one of my therapists pulled me to the side, and she was in tears, like, you just don't know. She basically said, she just basically said she was going to miss me. And my doctor, who was my stroke doctor when I was at Shirley Ryan as an inpatient, she gave me her personal number. She's a dark woman of color. She gave me her personal number because she said she liked my vibe, and she wanted to keep in touch with me because she didn't want me to feel like I was going through it by myself.
Wow. How powerful. I mean, like when I read your story, my mouth was like dropping on the floor, because literally all of the research and conversations I have is around how many of these things are happening to women, especially women of color, that are actually there. It's preventable. And we are not in that situation where things are preventable. We're not treated with care. We're not treated with kindness. We're not being seen. We're not being heard. And we're being ignored. And then women of color are dying at higher rates than anyone else. And it's because of these biases and stereotypes that we have to acknowledge as a community. And I want people that are listening to this, not all medical professionals are evil and horrible people. They're not, right? I think there's a system that is so big and it's so overwhelming that we're not using all of our resources in the community. We're not using all of our resources that could be invented and created. We depend a lot on just nurses and doctors to do everything. And I think it's really setting a lot of people up for medical mishaps and all of these different things. But in another realm, though, we do have professionals that don't need to be working with people because they are racist, or they have biases, or they're not looking at how they're looking at patient care, and they're not putting the care in patient care. There's all of these different pieces that we have to recognize, and we have to call it what it is. And that's the hardest part about looking at what we're doing in our medical communities and saying, okay, what do we need to do to deal with the parts that no one sees, that inward part, that reflection? You may have dealt with 1,000 people that are, drug addicts, that are people of color, but then you have that one or two person. I'm just making a number up here, guys. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, because they're seeing so many of a certain pattern, instead of actually saying, what do we need to do to address this? They're just looking at everybody in the same pattern. And basically what ends up happening, that person that has nothing to do with what that situation that they've been seeing all day or all year, they get into a situation where they're being treated as though they're doing something else and it has nothing to do with what's going on. And it's scary. Because everybody is being put in one bucket instead of actually looking at each individual and saying, what does this person need? This is the same thing that we keep talking about, even with addiction, looking at people with addiction and saying, what do you really need? And not just putting everybody in one bucket and saying, this is the way this person is and this is how we're going to handle them. But when we're talking about pregnancy, we're talking about labor, we're talking about maternal health, we need to be having the right conversations, which is, are we really listening to each other and are we petitioning for one another? So Tyra, tell us, what's one thing you want our listeners to hear before we end this podcast about petitioning for themselves and making sure they get the right care?
One thing that I want our listeners to hear before we end this. This is what I'm going to say. Read more about postpartum preeclampsia. Don't depend on health. Although they get paid to do this, do not depend on them to, teach you everything.
Yeah.
Because what they always, the old saying, and I'm learning this too, that we have to learn how to research things on our own too, although we can't, because the old saying is, the best way, if you want somebody to know, if you don't want nobody to know nothing, the best thing to do is put it in the book, because they automatically assume we don't read. So definitely let's start doing our own research. And what's crazy is my daughter ran across that post about postpartum preeclampsia, when I want to say when I was in the hospital, when I was in the rehab, she ran across it, and somebody else had the same symptoms I had, postpartum preeclampsia. So it's rare, but just pay attention, and definitely pay attention to your body. Also, I would say, watch out. Don't depend on them to tell you anything. Come home, go get your own blood pressure cuff. And if you notice a spike in your blood pressure, then get up and go to the hospital. So that's all I would have to say.
Wow. I want to thank you so much for coming by on this special segment of Girl Get a Doula. Let's define it. You guys, the reason why I wanted Tyra to come on is because she had a powerful story that impacted so many people. The amount of women that were liking this and commenting on this and sharing this, it was powerful. And I'm so sorry this happened to you, but I am so glad that you're here to share your story.
Let me tell you something. This is a saying my husband, my auntie-in-law say, when we go through things, it's not usually it's to help, it's for other people. So I do have plans on going back to Shirley Ryan and trying to volunteer once all of this COVID stuff blow over. But so one of the ladies there, she was a white woman, and she was talking about that maybe since because everybody hear stories, if you watch the news or whatever and they want to talk about Chicago, you probably hear the South and West Side an awful lot, which houses that basically the South and West Side, those are underserved communities for people of color. And I'm a proud South Sider. I don't care what nobody got to say. So basically what this lady said, this white woman said, well, maybe you could probably start a support group in your neighborhood, since it is a lot of South Side is an underserved community, maybe because it's a lot of people there who don't know. And so I said, yeah, but I wouldn't even know how to go about starting a support group. I really don't. And so So another thing I want to tell you guys, like, you go through things and to help other people, but I don't go through nothing. I say I grow through stuff. So just yesterday, I climbed the Sears Tower. 103 floors.
Wow.
It was a fundraiser thing for Shirley Ryan. And they were raising $1 million, but they asked every participant to raise $300. I raised $300 and I walked in the Skyrise event. It's called Skyrise Chicago, where we walked to the 103rd floor of the Sears Tower just for people like me.
Wow.
So,
oh my goodness, my heart, y'all. This is powerful and this is beautiful. And I just want to thank you so much for taking your time out. I know you are a busy mom and you are constantly sharing your story. And if you need help starting that support group, let me know. I will help you. I have been helping a lot of people start different support groups. And I really appreciate you. And you guys, I hope that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I need help. I'm telling you that right now. I need help.
Okay. We're gonna collaborate on that. And everybody that's listening, you guys, listen, all of the information about this podcast. If people want to connect with you, Tyra, where can they go?
Come to my Facebook page, Tyra Morris.
Perfect. You guys, don't worry if you're driving. I will have all of the information right below this podcast. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Tyra, thank you for being here. I know this is not the last time we are going to work together. See you guys soon. Sending you strength and love, sisters.
Bye-bye.
Bye.